There's a lot of things no one tells you about HRT. This video will cover them.
Here we go!
So when taking estrogen, a thing that impacted my body in ways that I could not have possibly imagined or anticipated was how food works. So in a nutshell, the amount of food I could eat was greatly reduced. However, if I ate too much or close to the amount I ate before, I got sick very quick. To say this was a shock is a sheer understatement. I vomited multiple times, lovely audience. My potential career as a professional hot dog eater is gone, lovely audience. How am I meant to scoop up the gold medals in this one? Another note, if food is undercooked, your body will feel it a little more. I noticed that post-estrogen, if I didn't cook the food properly, I felt it. I was punished for it. This resulted in more vomiting. I would have a sausage roll that I didn't cook in the microwave properly, and next thing I know, I'm vomiting in the sink. Ain't that kind of gross? Now don't be too alarmed by this. All you have to do is cook your food properly and you're fine. Also, you might have to just adjust the portions you eat. Just note that the amount that you burn off when exercising is a little different too. It's a bit easier to burn off calories on testosterone, so just keep that in mind when adjusting the amount you eat after estrogen. Granted, you might feel more motivated to exercise when you're feeling good in your body, so it might be pretty negligible, to be honest with you. And now, for the estrogen forecast, there's a high chance of temperature changes affecting how the body will react to certain temperatures, such as hot and cold. With transition well underway, it's hot girl summer, which means we can take off the boy motor hoodies. We're free. We're free. Finally. Oh my god. Thought I'd never get to take this off. This is my OG boy motor hoodie, by the way. The way we react to temperature with estrogen in our body is pretty different. When you're getting into a pool, for example, if it's really cold, you might recall feelings of getting to like roughly this region of the body. You might be like, oh, you get into the water and you're like, oh, that's cold because of our lower regions, right? However, you might be like, oh, since there's no testosterone pumping around, does that mean that area doesn't feel as dramatically cold anymore? Yeah, that is true. However, you have a new threat when you're having a fun pool party, and that is this part of the body. So, when you get in the water, right? Yeah, that part is very sensitive now. You might be getting to hip level and be like, oh, I'm pretty good at surviving the cold. Then you get to here and you're like, when testosterone's the primary hormone, it's going to rage around the body and essentially give you an RPG-styled cold resistance buff. That means that you can handle the cold much better than people primarily of estrogen. However, once you start taking estrogen, that buff right there, none anymore. I'm not going to throw this. So depending on the season, when you start transition, you might get a rude shock with the cold. However, heat, in my experience, feels about the same. Maybe it feels a little comparatively cooler, but that's probably because I'm wearing lighter outfits than I used to. What a shock. Not wearing hoodies anymore when it's the Australian summer feels quite nice. Up next, emotions, right? So when you're taking HRT, there will be slight mood changes. However, this isn't changing the fundamentals of your core personality. You're not going to become someone else. You're not going to take estrogen and become Barbie or whatever, right? You are going to be you, but with estrogen in your body. That's the only thing different, right? So the way this affects mood, right, is that you might find it a bit harder to feel anger in the way you did before. However, it's a lot easier to cry. However, that part you might already know. For me, when I see a sad movie or even a happy movie, I get brought to tears much easier than I did before. I was already a crybaby, so to be honest, it doesn't feel that different. But how I feel after a cry is kind of better, so that's a win. However, the thing I didn't expect was the whole mood swing thing doesn't change your personality. Yeah, you'll feel a change in mood, when it's the time of the month, so to speak. You might be like, ooh, I'm not feeling the best. You might feel a bit agitated. It's a bit easier to be a bit cranky at someone. However, you're still you. When you have those moments where you say something a bit unprompted, you go, oh, that was kind of mean, sorry. And depending on the stage of life you're in, you likely have the maturity to handle the situation in stride. I believe in you. Speaking of maturity, it's pretty whack about transition. We're transitioning and experiencing puberty, literally puberty 2, okay? This is puberty 2, all right? As a result, you have to keep in mind that you're experiencing puberty 2 at a different time than the people in your age group. Whatever age group you're in, doesn't matter. Chances are you're going to be experiencing changes at a different time as the people around you. Maybe you're experiencing it much later or a little later. Either way, there's going to be a weird dissonance feeling of being like an adult, but experiencing the emotions of a teenage girl. So that can feel a little strange. Honestly, as a result, it made me feel like I was in like a time loop for a few years. As a result of experiencing puberty as an adult, it's easy for trans people to kind of be infantized, which isn't great. Now, trans men experience this way more than trans women in my opinion, but essentially you might start to feel like people are treating you less like an adult since you're quite literally going through the emotions of a teenage girl in the body of someone that's an adult, right? So as a result, it's pretty easy to be infantized. Doing puberty 2 is kind of like going back in time, and then once the journey's finished, like at the end of a sci-fi movie, you are kind of zipped back to where you were before, however this time as the gender that you identify as, right? Also, while most people kind of know this now, I didn't when I started HRT. Yeah, everyone told me that starting HRT would change my sexuality. Not really. I think that's more due to social circumstance. However, anecdotally, I started HRT thinking I was bisexual, and now I think I'm straight. I'm not really slapping down labels now. I don't really care anymore. I hope you enjoyed this remake of an old video that wasn't recorded on a PS2 iToy. If there's any other old videos I've made that you'd like remade, let me know. But otherwise, if you want some topics in general covered, be sure to let me know. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those things. Hit the bell. People forget about the bell, so be sure to ring it. Until next time, stay hydrated and know that you are valid. I'll see you next week.